Hi, welcome back. In this video, we will continue building our application. Specifically, we're going to add this message to the user output. So when we run the program, we first will show the user the current date and time. As you see, now it's May 28th. That's the year, and that's the hours, the minutes, the seconds. So that's a timestamp, and then we show the normal message to the user asking them to add, show, edit, complete, or exit the program. So how can you find out the current time with Python? Let's find it out. So I'll open a Python console. So can you guess how can we do that? Maybe a date function? No. Maybe a time function? No. So there is actually no function available in the global namespace. So for example, you can just say print and you get the output. So print is available in the global namespace of Python, but certain things such as finding the time or maybe opening a CSV file or an Excel file, these things are not included directly in the main namespace. The solution is to import such functionalities. So I know that to calculate the time and the date, you can use the time module. So this is a standard module. This is a local module, functions. It is local because it's something we created and it is located in the local project directory. So we can simply import it like that. Now the time module is also a module, so it contains code just like functions does, this module, but the time module is located somewhere in the Python installation directory. So it was written by the Python core developers, not by us. And so therefore this time module has some functions written inside. So if you are on PyCharm, you can kind of see these functions if you right click and then go to implementations. And so here you will see, for example, several functions. It happens that the time module is written actually in C language, therefore these functions, they look like Python code, and they are actually Python code, but they are basically empty. So they are fake, so to say, but still these are functions. Now if you scroll down, you'll see something called strftime. Now this function, if you try it in your command line, in your console, Python console, or in the code, so I'll try in the Python console first. Of course, I first need to import time here as well, just like I did in my script. And then if I do time dot strftime, strftime means string from time, and if you press enter, first you'll get an error because strftime takes at least one argument, so it is a function. Functions do give you this error when they want at least one argument. So you can see that in time.py, strftime needs this format argument to be provided. So if I provide this argument now, this needs to be a string. You see here, it says a string. And for example, if I type in %y, a capital Y, inside the quotes, and I press enter, I get the current year, 2022. If I want the month as well, I can say percentage small m, maybe make a space, maybe make a dash, whatever you like, and you're going to get that format. So percentage m turns into the actual number of the month. And every other character, such as a space, a dash, another space, these are interpreted as literal characters. So they are printed as they are. And then percentage y again is a special character. It gives you the year, the current year. So likewise, you can say percentage b, and then you get the name of the month. So we could continue this percentage b, and then the day with a lowercase d, space, or a comma, and then the year. And then for time, you want to do h for hours, maybe a colon if you like, or a dash, whatever you prefer. I would use a colon to separate the hour by the minute, capital M, with a percentage symbol in front, of course, a colon, and then lastly percentage S. Press enter, and that's what you get. So each of those format codes is converted into the actual date and time. To see a complete list of format codes, you can go to your browser, just search for Python datetime format codes on Google, and then go to the python.org website. Click on there, and then down here you'll see this strftime format codes. Click there and you'll see these results. So there's a table here. All these are the format codes you can use, and you can see the description, what you get from each of them. You can use any of them inside that strftime function. Right, so let's quickly implement this, and then I talk about standard modules a little bit more. So I'm going to copy that, go to main.py, and I'm going to store this result into a variable. Now this is a string, notice the single quotes here. So what you get in return is a string instance, which has a type string. So what you can do now is you can just say print, you can say it is, and then the other variable argument of the print function would be perhaps now. And if you print this out in the command line, you're going to get it is from that, and then that from the now variable. So that's the new feature we want to implement. Quite simple, but you now know what standard modules are. For a complete list of standard modules in Python, you can see this page. You can find the link in the lecture resources as well. Or you can search on Google for Python module index. So here you'll see different modules which do different things. So not everything is available in the Python main namespace. So you have to import some modules, and they have their own functions inside. these modules are not immediately available because the Python session would become quite heavy if you included everything. So if the Python team included everything, then they would slow down the language. Therefore, you just import what you need, and that keeps Python efficient. So for example, you have a module for CSV, so that would help you handle CSV files in Python. You can open them, you can write data in CSV files. Now, the good news is that you don't actually need to go through any of these modules. Whenever you have a problem at hand you need to solve, you need to program something, you need to create something, then if you don't know what module to use, then you just do some search on Google or ask a question in a forum, but the search itself will bring up some results, some forum results also, where you see the community, what they are suggesting you to use. And then you can just search for that module on Google, go to the documentation page, which is if you click this module and you go to the documentation page, or you just search for some examples from blogs. So the idea is that once you know how Python works, then you can orientate yourself, you can find the way to learn any kind of module, so to program anything. You know what a function is, you know the data types, what they are. You know that you need to provide some argument to a function, which could be some file path, etc. You know that functions give you output. So no matter if that function is your own function, which you created as we did with those functions inside functions.py, or maybe someone else created that function, it doesn't matter, you can still use it. So the idea is that most of the time for the problems you have at hand, you will probably find a function that does that. So as we did here, for if you want to get the time, to find out the time, you don't have to create your own function. That function might exist, but for more custom things, such as reading a file, getting the data in a list and then returning the list, then you need to create those functions. So functions.py and time.py are both modules, and you can use the dir function actually with any of those modules. You can use the dir function for time, and you'll see the functions you can apply with the time module. I'll explain what these are as well. These capital letter names. So similarly, I can import functions here in the Python console, and I do dir functions, and I get, again, here are the functions of my functions.py file, write to dos and get to dos. Now these clock monotonic row, these are actually variables defined in time.py. If you go on top of the file, scroll down, yeah. So these are some constants, some values which are used down here in for some from some functions. So it's common practice to define the values of those variables in here. We could do the same for functions.py. For example, actually we could define here a file path variable. So these variables which hold these constants are usually written on top of the module, and they are written in capital letters. So in this case, we could put todos.txt here. that would be a good thing to do, because then we can just say file path in here and the same in here. So the benefit of this is that if we decide to change the name of the file later on to another name, then we can just change that name in here as well. So if we decide to change this from todos to todos item, then we can just write here todos item as well. So we don't need to change that in here and here. That would be enough in one place, and the variable would transport it to every other place. So let me make a break line here. Now, if I do dir functions again, you might expect file path to be there, but it is not, because you need to close the Python console and to open it again so that there is a refresh of the session. Now, if you do import functions and then you do dir functions, then you'll see file path there. So I hope that makes sense. And that was the video for this lecture. Thanks a lot, and I'll talk to you later.